Hello. We're going to make corrections on the front of our placement test, section 1, and we're just going to do the top section because I think the video would get too long if we went to do the whole front. So first off, we want to make sure that we got our 5 steps down since it's the beginning of the school year. So whenever I'm asked to fix a test or fix a quiz or fix an assignment, that means watch a video, listen to the video as many times, and of course you can do these more than once. Take notes. So I am on your homework looking for notes. A couple people were like, yeah, I didn't feel like taking notes. Yep, you got to take the notes. That's part of your assignment on there is to take the notes. So you might want to pause the video if you think I write too fast. Take notes and hold on. I know this one is dig deep enough to figure out if you'd get the question right again. Now this one, let me read what I wrote. Dig deep enough to figure out if you'd get this question right the next time. So if you miss this question number 2, the last step in doing your homework is making sure that you dug deep enough in order to make sure, and I'm not sure what this one is. I'm just going to call this show work. So actually fix the ones you missed. Now this may be a slightly different order, but it's the same basic steps I asked for last time. So go ahead, pause the video, make sure that shows up somewhere in your paper. Now your paper is not blank though, so you might, especially in algebra, want to work on a separate piece of paper and then just staple the two together when you come to class or at home. So first I'm going to start with question 1, and the best way to start fresh is to copy the question over on another piece of paper, especially if I miss this question. So I've copied the question, same question, copied it over on a fresh piece of paper, and it says when x is here. So notice this is an expression. There's no equal sign. So here's actually the equal sign. So what they're really asking for is substitute where you see the letter x, put the number 5 there. So step 1, write it out and put the number 5 where you see the letter x. And then we're going to follow PEMDAS. So following PEMDAS, print the C first. 5 minus 4 is 1. And then you recopy the rest of the problem. Now we got to make sure that we know what in the original question that was a subtraction sign. So I copied down the rest. Then it says multiply. I don't have any exponents, so multiplying 2 times 1 is 2. And copy down the rest of the problem. And then last but not least, I'm going to subtract, and I get the answer of 5. And that's what you should have got for question 1. Question 2, pretty similar. So I'm going to copy that one down. It looks something like this. Question 2 states 2x squared minus 8x minus 10 when x is negative 2. Okay, so I've copied it down, made sure I copied it down correctly. And again, I see no equal sign here. So this is an expression, and they're asking for what would happen if x, where you see the letter x, you would substitute a negative 2. So I see 2 x's, and in fact, this is an x squared. So I'm going to just rewrite it, substituting the number, where I see the letter x. Instead, I'm going to write a negative 2. And again, one technique is to write it really high so you know that it's a negative 2. And so now I'm going to follow PEMDAS, addressing anything in parentheses first. So this is in parentheses, and that's in parentheses, but nothing's happening inside there. So I need to address exponent. So this is like saying negative 2 times negative 2. Or on a calculator, you could do negative 2, you do it like this, 2, and then make it negative. And then if I squared it, notice that's a positive 4, because negative times a negative is a positive. Now I'm just going to copy the rest of the problem down. Next, I don't have any more exponents, so I'm going to multiply. So 2 times 4. Now this is negative or subtract an 8 times a negative 2. Well, subtraction rule says when you subtract, you're adding a negative. So those are really going to look like that. Negative 8 times negative 2 would be a positive or plus 16. And then I'm going to write that. And now I'm just going to add or subtract left to right. So we're going to start here, add these two together. I get 24. Subtract 10. I get 14. Now I got my final answer I'm looking for. Beautiful. Now let's look at question 3. Now in class I call this a bad Santa question. And the reason why I do that is, once again, you have an expression. See that word expression? There's no equal signs here. So I'm not solving for y. What I'm doing is I'm writing out the expression, and now they've said simplify. So we're going to follow rules to write it in a simpler way. A simpler way is without these parentheses. So to get rid of parentheses, it's called distribute. So I'm going to write that. And you got to be a good Santa, which means you got to give this y to this term and you got to give it to the next term. And that's why a lot of folks miss this. They forgot to give it to the second term. So we have y times y squared, so y times y squared, and then you have 3 times a y. And now I'm just going to follow PEMDAS, multiplying or doing this square. So this is y times y times y. So y times y times y is one way to think of it, right? And so I should have y cubed here. Y to the power of 3, because that's what exponent means, is what item am I multiplying by itself by how many times? And then I have 3y, and that's my final answer. I've written it in a much simpler form than it was before, and that's called simplify. Okay, question 4. Ooh, we had a lot of these before. I'm going to copy it on my paper. And I've noticed a lot of ways. Now, I could see parentheses. To get rid of parentheses, I could distribute. So I got to distribute this first term to both. So I have 2 Santas here. I got an x I have to distribute to both terms. And I also have a second term, a negative 3, that I got to distribute to both terms. Well, some students have learned to call this FOIL. We multiply the first 2 terms, the outside terms, the inside terms, and the last 2 terms. See how that spells FOIL? So I could do that just kind of in my head. The first arrow I took, x times x. Okay, so I'll write x times x. Okay. The next term, the outside terms, x times a 4x. So I have a plus x times 4x would just be 4x. And then the inside terms, negative 3, so that'd be minus 3 times x. And then the last 2 terms, a negative 3 times a 4 would be negative 12. I've FOILed. Now, in a way, again, I don't see an equal sign. You are going to have to simplify. And usually simplify, a lot of times, means combine like terms. So that's what I write out there. So x times x, we know, could be written as x squared, because that's what an exponent means. 4x and 3x. Well, notice these are like terms. This one has an x and that one has an x. So 4 minus 3x is just a 1x. And then I still have a negative 12. This could be my final answer. Oftentimes, though, in the simplest form, we don't even put the 1 in front of it. It's just assumed that that's how many x's I have, and that's my final answer. Now, other students may have done it besides FOIL in other ways. So I'm going to make a real quick box. We can use a multiplication box to also do this. So notice we have 2 terms we're multiplying, x minus 3, so I can write that x minus 3, and these terms, x plus 2. Now, any order would do. I could have written this one here and this one there. This helps me know that when I multiply 2 terms times 2 terms, I should get 4 terms. Once again, x times x is x squared. 4 times x is 4x. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. And negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. Now, notice I get 4 terms. So it's make a box, fill in the box by multiplying. Then the third step, when you do it this way, is add up all the boxes. Okay, so when I add up all the boxes, I have 4 terms, x squared plus 4x minus 3x minus 12. I've added up all the boxes, and now see how I'm getting the same answer. So you would once again combine these terms, and this happens when we have a box. We notice the combined like terms happens here in the diagonal. These are the terms that we end up combining, okay? Now, I'm gonna call it quits for now. Just those first 4 problems. Best of luck. See you next time.